we make about the same.
Hey to our fans on YouTube, we made it. We made it.
But
we're just talking about how some people are saying that if we don't pay for Netflix and we don't eat takeout as much, we can afford a house.
Yeah. So like for me, like comparing Canada and the United States, as long as I'm living in one and not going bouncing back and forth, the price is about the same.
Right. So the average cost of a house in what year did I say? Between 1946 and 64, the average cost of a home was $11,900. You cannot buy a new car for that.
No.
Not even close.
At the same time, you get like 7 chocolate bars for a nickel.
Yeah. I got an interesting story. My uncle, like, there are foods out there that, like people just don't like. But this one strikes me as weird, and this will make sense in a minute. He hates bananas. Hates them. He can't stand the smell. He doesn't like the way they look. He doesn't like anything about them. My grandfather would take a $5 bill in the 1950s and put it on the table. And he goes, you take one bite of that banana, you can have that $5 bill. I mean, $5 in 1950 is like, it's like me sliding you a $50 bill going, take a bite of that banana, and you'll bite just about anything for $50. There's a very short list of things you will not bite for $50. But he wouldn't do it. He would never do it because he just didn't like bananas.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean,
they're comparing apples to oranges. It doesn't work. You can't.
Yeah.
They're like, well, back in my day, we made it work. In your day, inflation was closer.
I'm always on the fence with it because, I mean, my wife and I, we have one income because I can't work yet. Working on it, though.
You got to start selling body parts soon.
Right. But, I mean, the process with the COVID stuff for permanent residency is dragged on. So
I'm getting tired of hearing the excuse that COVID's slowing everything down. I really don't think so. I think people are just using it as an excuse.
So at least at the government level for getting permanent residency, it caused a backlog because people weren't allowed to be in the office. So that's what I'm assuming. We don't actually know because it's not like.
But everything's being done over a computer. I don't even have a story for this. But why do office workers have to go sit in an office now? At a big, tall, billion feet tall story building full of people sitting at computers typing all day. You can do this at home.
Yeah.
If COVID showed us anything, it's like it's actually probably more economic for the business because you don't have to pay them the electricity bills and all that stuff on your building rent, all that stuff. Your cost goes down, and yet you can still pay your employee, in fact, pay him more. Take that into mind, people. You're cutting costs they're using their own electricity. They're using their own computers. They're using some businesses might actually buy your computers.
I mean, you can have childcare.
Right.
You can be there to look after your kid while you're typing up stuff.
Yeah. Just turn off your camera while you whack the kid upside the head for being, a pain. Why does this camera keep going on? He keeps whacking his kid.
If I remember, they actually were doing a study on a couple businesses and found that morale within the employees went up and productivity went up.
Absolutely. Because no one likes being locked in a cubicle all day. Why do you think we only do the show for an hour?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So I worked for Dell as tech support.
I bet that was fun.
I actually didn't mind it, but the best part was I was also young.
Right.
So it was really fun to bug people in the other cubicles that were on calls and they couldn't react to you.
There are a few corporations out there that have a mandatory every hour or two. They do just they have Nerf gun fights and stuff like that, just to get your mind, because you can't be hunched
every
over.
Job that I've had that you just mindlessly do a simple, not simple all the time, but just one task. Your brain eventually just turns to.
It turns to jello.
Yeah.
You're just oh, what am I doing this for?
That's why I could never just do a job that was like data entry.
Oh. We're talking office space,
Yeah,
right?
like I could
Did you
not.
get your GPS report done today?
Yeah,
I'll send you that email.
like 5 different people come and tell
How many?
us.
I have 5 different bosses, Bob.
So I'm gonna need you to come in on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it you say you do here? Yeah. So that's if COVID has shown us anything, it's like we don't need to go get crammed in, because back when this started, back in the 80s and 70s, you couldn't afford. You knew a guy who owned a computer and his parents were loaded.
Yeah.
Because computers were ridiculous, and they still are. But everybody has some form of a computer.
Yeah, I remember my first one because we started needing them for school. I remember my dad bought it. He was like, "Is 125 gram good? What is that?" And back then, I was.
And
like,
he's still probably asking you these questions.
Oh yeah, he does. He uses the finger typer, so one finger. Yeah.
I learned how to type on a typewriter, and then on the good days, because they only had a few computers, you got to jump to the old Apple IIs.
I liked it when we got to use the typewriter that had the whiteout built into it.
Yours were way more advanced than ours. If you made a mess up on a letter, you're like, oh.
And then you had to manual
Gotta-
write it out.
There we go. Oh, it's not. It wasn't straight.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm starting to type on it.
I don't care. The teacher can see that. These are the battles we had to deal with when we were in school.
Yeah.
And writing with a pencil.
Well, and you know what? Just even talking about that, because like you and I grew up with a huge boom of technology.
And it's still, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Like, well, now I call it the age of updates.
Yeah.
Everything's just getting updated now. But a lot of like my dad complains about the stuff going on with the new generation, and I'd be like, well, that's the generation we created. We created it so that it would be easier for the next generation.
Right.
Stop getting so upset when they don't do the same things that we used to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like with my daughter, it's weird. It's harder to get kids to go outside and play.
Why would they?
Yeah.
I can sit here and stare at, I have the world at my fingers right here. I can see anything I want. All I gotta do is push a button.
Like I've always I've talked to like my parents, and they was like, "Oh, you're just outside running around," and like I would play games, but it's usually at night
Because it's dark outside. You can't see.
And
your parents didn't let you run around in the dark.
now, like with Persephone, we've told her that she has to have so many hours of outside time, and then she'll get.
And it's not just the kids. We're not saying that just the kids are roped in. Adults our age, even older than us, the amount of time you spend staring at your phone.
Oh yeah.
You can actually look at your phone and it will tell you how much time you spent on different apps on your phone throughout the day.
My favorite thing is, and I bet you it happens.
And if you check it, you're gonna go, I have a problem.
If you get a lot of the people that complain about the new generation, and I bet you they're doing it on Facebook.
Right.
So you're
Twitter.
like, oh, well, the people are just like I am. I am not outside as much as my father used to be.
No, not even close.
Right? Because I just remember him. He would sit on the porch, and he'd be.
I did all day yesterday. It was warm.
Right.
But we got the awning up. It was nice.
Well, that's why it's been nice, because we're telling our kid to go outside, and then we usually go and sit on the porch and watch her play, or play with her, and that's the problem. Like the phones and stuff. Like I'm getting to the point. I mean, she's my first child, so you kind of got to learn, and you realize that they want to do what you're doing. So if your kid is playing too many games or on their phone too much,
it's because you are.
Probably because you are. Yeah.
They only want it because you have it. You're like, well, that's cool.
Yeah, well, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I want, because like the other day I was painting minis, and that's what I was doing most of the day. And she's like, "Can I paint?" Because she saw me doing it.
Yeah.
And same with like when Sammy's working on stuff, she'll want to do the same thing that she's doing.
Right. So check this out. This is a nice feed in. We're talking about technology and how it's just going crazy. Like stuff. It's getting to the point where they're surprising you and me. Are like, what? They're doing that now? They did it to me the other day. Smart contact lenses, where they actually have a HUD display and everything on a contact lens.
Oh my goodness!
Like you ever seen the Google glasses and the things like those things are big and cumbersome. They're kind of they have big batteries, but The smart contact lens prototype puts a micro LED display on top of your eye. These are just in development. But the fact that they're in development and they've got processors in these things that are so tiny, your eye can't see them when they're on your eye.
Did you? I don't think you did. But did you see any of the stuff for Cyberpunk? That game that came out. So one of the things in that is that you have the HUD is in your eyes.
Right.
So when you hold the tab button, at least on the PC, you can literally look at anybody and it'll tell you about them. I'm waiting for when that's going to happen so that I can look at you and the HUD is like, oh, this is Derek.
At the heart of the lens is an ARM MO processor and a micro LED display with 14,000 pixels per inch. It's just 0.02 or 0.5 millimeters in diameter with a 1.8 micron pixel pitch. I don't expect anybody to know what that is. I don't know what that is, but it's small.
Yeah.
Right? They claim it's the smallest and densest display ever created. And they want to use it so the lens uses a custom configured magnetometer. Magnetometer?
Megatron.
CNET noted this drives the compass, accelerometer, and gyroscope for tracking. The goal is that the AR remains visible even when you move your eye. Eye movement is essential, and there's no gesture control like smart glasses, such as the Ray-Ban Stories have. There is voice control, a Mojo Vision rep told, but the user interface's primary method of control is eye tracking. Crazy. I don't wear contacts. I've never had to wear contacts. My wife wears them. You wear them. Do contacts move when you move your eye, or do they just kind of stay in one spot and your eye just kind of moves behind
I
it?
do not wear contacts.
You don't wear contacts?
I do not.
But you wear glasses.
I only need glasses for certain things.
Yeah, like seeing.
No, I can see perfectly fine. Everything is right. It's distance at night that I need.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm getting old.
You're a way better hockey player when you're wearing your glasses.
I've never tried playing with my glasses.
You don't?
No.
Really? You might actually hit the net. When I'm not in it.
You
I know the smack talk started already. But that's cool.
Well, it is cool, but it's also
it's scary.
It's kind of weird.
It's
Because I don't
kinda-
even know. What would you use it for? So you don't get lost, so you know where north is?
Well, this what I'm thinking is they might start. I mean, that's just the beginning. It could slowly replace your phone, because you'll have microphones attached to it, so we can hear you. You can see it. You can. So you're I need to make a phone call. So you're just using your eye and you're making phone calls.
It's gonna happen where so for me, or let's go with my wife. My wife needs to wear glasses. Yours needs to wear glasses. They're blind.
Mine is blind without glasses. Yes.
So what's to stop the step from turning into they replace your eyes with cybernetic ones?
They already have stuff like that.
It's very simple.
But they do.
But I mean, I'm talking it's going to get to that point.
Dude, I'm going to turn into RoboCop.
Right? And it's going to be eventually, you think of the arguments we're having now, it's going to turn into being well, he's only half human because of the cybernetic parts.
Yeah, you ever watched the Bicentennial Man movie with Robin Williams in it? He wanted to be a man. That's what he wanted. That was his whole goal. So he kept it throughout the whole movie, most of it anyway. He's trying to build towards being.
Well, so Sammy and I talked about this because of Ultron.
Yeah, right.
Watching that, and I said, "There's no way that we can ever build an actual artificial intelligence that is able to function as a human." And the reason why I said that wasn't because we can't do it; it's we shouldn't. Because as soon as we did, and we gave it all the functions of a human,
dude, have you not seen the Terminator movies?
Well, what ends up happening? Because you and I, we learn things at a normal rate. I'm just going to say normal rate, or otherwise we'll probably see different. But a robot that has AI will learn quicker.
Well, that's not true because
it'll start slow, but then it speeds up.
They still say that no matter how fast a processor in your computer is, you still process information far faster than any computer ever can.
Well, because I watch these YouTube videos they're pretty neat. So there's this there's a school, I'd have to look it up to know which one it is, but the university is actually testing artificial intelligence using video games.
Right.
So they've invented a video game that has like 4 AIs, so it's 2-on-2 kind of PvP thing, and it's hide and seek.
Mm-hmm.
And what they have to do is they have objects scattered around, and the AI has to try to hide, and then after a couple seconds, the other ones try to find them. And when you watch it, they'll be like, so after the first like 3,000 games, the seekers always win because the hiders aren't very good at hiding. But then they're like, interesting things start happening. So you start seeing them like hacking the game. So they start moving things and putting them in places where they couldn't go.
Right.
And making it so that there's no way the other ones can win. But then the other ones, now that they can't win, the AI start taking over and hacking the game itself to make it so that they find glitches and boost themselves up.
Yeah. So they're not necessarily making anything go any faster. They're basically cheating the system because they're figuring out how to make it so
they're
they can't.
Figuring it out.
Right.
And that's the fear of if they had artificial intelligence is over time.
Yes.
It would learn way more than we ever would.
What I'm saying is that the ability for the human mind to process information is unobtainable by any type of microprocessor. Think about it. When you're playing, and I'm going to use hockey because this is what we do. When you're skating down the ice, and just think of the complex things that your brain is doing at that time. For one, it's keeping track of your feet. It's keeping track of your hands. It's keeping track. You know the puck is on your stick. You're not even looking at it. You're looking at the goalie. Well, am I going to deke left? Am I going to deke right? This is why most people miss because they overthink.
You forgot one thing that I always do.
You flutter bucket.
No, I sing Disney songs in my head.
Right? To keep yourself calm. But the amount of equations that your brain is doing on its own, which you don't even realize it's doing, you're like, I'm going to put this over his blocker because I'm just going to flip it. But your brain has got to know how far away you want to be before you do this. And you make that 0.01 or 0.02 second decision. There's no way a computer could do that. It can't make that decision that fast. But you can.
But what if you have a guy that started at the same
And then there's the opposite. Me. Where I have to react to. So my brain's got to process the information that you're doing. So I have to make sure I'm like, well, what hand is he? Is he left or right or left-handed? Right?
Yeah.
Does he usually go left or does he usually no? He likes to flip it over my pad, right? I know.
You legit put my kid to sleep. She's listening.
It never happens. See, this is you just need to bring us up on YouTube every night and play so she goes to sleep for you guys at night.
I'm like when she has naps because she's nicer throughout the day.
Kinks is the same way.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like the ability for us to problem solve and to solve, like people don't think of it that way, but your brain is going through thousands of equations every millisecond you move. A lot of it is doing it subconsciously because that's the way you work. Like when you're a little kid, you know how little kids can't grab anything because their motor skills kind of suck.
Yeah.
But eventually, I can stop a puck doing 60 miles an hour. As a baby, nope, not happening. I haven't developed the motor skills for that yet.
So that's one of the things that I mentioned with Sam when we were talking about it. I was like, it's fine if we make artificial intelligence with a specific thing in mind.
Right.
So if you were to make a robot that was like, all it knows is how to play hockey.
Or no, well, we do this. All it knows how to do is build cars.
Yep.
This is what it does. That's not AI. It's not learning on its own. It's only doing what it's programmed to do. It can. When I worked in a glass factory, we had these really sweet robots. They were just a big arm is all it was, and it would pick up big pieces of glass and it would set them down and it would just repeat.
Well, I mean, the one that Iron Man has seems to have a personality.
Right. Ultron, although I don't think he's AI, I think Ultron is actually a conscience that got developed, and because they took it from the mind. This is common. This is not real at all. It comes from the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
And they show that the Mind Stone in itself has the ability to control the mind. That's what it does. So it basically has its own consciousness. And what I think happened, I don't know, you have to call Marvel to be like, is this what they thought?
They wouldn't even know.
Right? Because Stan Lee died. But did some of that consciousness from the Mind Stone transfer to Ultron? And it started to think on its own. It's like, well, I'm not stuck within just a stone. Now I have. And then you connect it to the internet and.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I know I'll be dead and gone by the time.
I don't think
Crazy
so.
stuff. I do. Otherwise, I'm gonna turn into one of those guys. I'm like, you got me.
Have
using
you
all
seen-
your electronic
So,
eyes.
so people watch the Iron Man movies and they see Tony Stark playing with those cool tables and like that doesn't exist. It does exist. They have those. We're just too poor and can't afford them.
Well, and I don't think they're quite like that. They
But
do
still-
have the 3D kind of image.
And they have the glass tables where you
Yeah.
can grab and move. And right now you can buy the attachment to your computer where your
Um,
keyboard shines down on the table and you type.
Oh yeah. Well, if people want to know if those tables exist, just get into graphic design and you'll
Yeah.
see that designers use them as drawing.
It's insane what they have out there. You just don't. It doesn't fit a need at the moment, and until it does,
Yeah, because right now the ones that I know that get used the most are like in design, right? So you have like a huge table that you're able to draw.
well, I mean, back to the contact lens things. Could this improve our safety in driving? Right now we have our cars think for us, but what if that thing in your eye? Because God knows everybody's doing everything they're not supposed to be doing except driving. I got my phone, my purse, my wallet, my kids are going crazy in the back seat.
Yeah.
What's going on in front of you? You're driving a 2,000-pound bomb. What? Right? But with the contact lens, maybe it can, since it's looking
Yeah, it'll shock you every time you look.
right in the eye. Oh, it hurt. Now you're blind driving a. But maybe we could get to the point where people who have vision impaired, they can drive now because of these things.
I'm hoping that we get to like the point, where it doesn't have to be like that, but at least to help the vision impaired.
Hearing impaired, but I mean,
Yeah, like you've seen those videos where they've made the new type of hearing aids for babies that are born like deaf and
Yeah.
they get to hear for the first time and how excited
even
they look.
see. Like have you seen the ones where? Because I have a friend of mine who is completely colorblind. Like he doesn't know any color from any color. He just sees shades.
There's those glasses.
Shades of glass. And his wife bought him these glasses, and he's 30. He's 40 years old. He's never seen any color.
Yeah.
Not the right ones anyway. I'm like, well, and people are like, well, how do you know what to stop at a stop sign? Because it says stop. I can read.
Yeah. I mean, if you've never had something, you don't miss it. But then when you get shown it, you realize what you've been missing.
Well, and the big thing, and people are so afraid of change, but you don't realize how good it's human nature to adapt to its surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think we live everywhere on this planet except for one place? And we live there some of the time.
Well, I mean, it's just, how does my wife deal with
And
it?
now we
adapt it.
And now we want to live on Mars, which is a horrible, horrible, horrible idea.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to rake any leaves.
We go to Mars.
Yeah.
If you want to die a really, really terrible, horrible death.
Is it Total Recall? No. Which one was Arnold Schwarzenegger where he's on Mars?
On Mars? You went to Mars?
Yeah, it's like a big one. It's the one with the three-chested lady.
I don't remember that one.
No?
It might be Total Recall.
I gotta figure it out now because it's one of my favorite ones that he does because it's always so fun.
Right? But I mean, people are so afraid, like, oh, we can't do this. Yet we can. Like during COVID, people didn't think. I mean, look at what's come out of that. Like we talked on it earlier. People working from home, spending more time with their kids and their family. Like you don't need to spend 8 hours in an office building.
Yeah, it's Total Recall.
Yeah, it is total. Is it total?
It's the original.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Colin Farrell one is the same movie. It's just they just pulled
Well, I watched that one and they made it different.
a little bit different.
Yeah, because I don't think that one actually happens on. I think it just happens on
On Earth. But yes, living in space to me is a terrible, terrible idea. Leading into one of my next things, I have we had some.
I'm sending a picture to my wife. She was suggesting it could be The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis.
No, also a very good movie though.
Yeah, Bruce Willis all happens on.
Multi-pass. It happens all over the place.
Yeah.
They're on a couple. His home planet.
I just remember. I still love the blue alien that does the opera singing. That scene is still always going to be one of my favorite movies.
Anyone else want to negotiate? After he shoots the one in the head, it was great. Where did I don't know if I saved that story. That's
What story was it?
because we were just talking about what we were just talking about. I don't even remember. I thought I
I was
had
talking about Total Recall with Mars.
right. I don't remember what it
Oh,
was.
like colonizing Mars?
Yeah, we're not colonizing Mars. Not in my lifetime. Oh, there's a hotel. They're building this giant. There's a guy who.
Plane hotel?
Yes. How insane of an idea is this? Like, it never has to come down.
I actually just saw that today, and I thought it was a hoax.
It's not though. Like, a dude wants to do it.
It can hold 5,000 guests.
Theory, and it never has to come down. But the thing is like, and I can see everybody's argument is like, you're gonna have to be uber rich to do it.
Well, the question would be: is if it never has to come down, how do you get down? Parachute.
No, it's so big you can land a helicopter on the thing.
Oh man,
That's how you get up there.
that's one of those things.
Or other little planes land. See,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a Boeing landing right on top of it.
So a plane lands
And
and
then
then
there-
matches speeds and then connects to.
Yeah, and then there's a helipad. And the thing flies up like 8,000 feet up or something like that. It's just crazy.
The question I have is why.
But yeah, what's its purpose? Like, what do we need it for?
I guess it's the. You and I would never get it. You'd have to be rich. So if you're like filthy rich, normal mundane things aren't exciting anymore because you can do them whenever you want.
Right.
So like if you were filthy rich, you can fly wherever you want. You can have your own jet and fly wherever.
One of
you
my
want.
favorite things to do: sit out on my porch in the evening when it's not like the surface of the sun, because my
Yeah.
house faces the surface of the sun in the evening. Just sit on the porch with my wife and just sit there and just talk about anything, like, what bugs us about our neighbors or whatever conversation we're having at the time.
But just imagine just think of if you kept your life the same way it is, you didn't change anything, but you got $1 million a year, but you only could do the same things you still do right now.
Easy.
Yeah, but eventually what would happen is because you'd stop going to work because you wouldn't have to now.
I don't know if I would. I tried that once. It sucked.
Yeah, but it's because both of you work.
Right.
And I mean, I know your wife works a lot. She'd probably be like, "Oh, this is great."
Right. Well,
Right.
we actually had that conversation today. Like, if she'd be a great stay-at-home mom, but I'm like, I think you'd hate it, honestly. Yes, you'd be good at it. Don't get me wrong, but you like to do things. That was the biggest thing for me, and you'd have to do it too. Like, if you're just stuck at home, there's only so much painting. There's only so much TV. There's only so many video games before your brain's just like, I want to go do something.
So we moved to Georgia, and I was working full time. 6 months. After 6 months, I was going completely insane.
Right? It took me less than that. Like, I'm like, I got to go back to work. I got to do something, whether it's part-time, anything to get me out of.
But so that's just it. If you look at like that situation,
Right.
If you have all the money in the world, you're gonna go, well, I don't have to work, but maybe I'll just we'll travel, and then you're gonna start traveling, and then you'll eventually be like, oh well, I mean, I got nowhere else to go. What else can I do? Oh, I know. Let's go to Mars.
No, I still wouldn't go.
It's one of those things though, where that's how the brain works. Is eventually when you start doing things and they're just so mundane that you start looking for.
Here's a
other
fun
things.
example of things that people think that is really, really cool, but scares the crap out of me. They're like, I saw the Aurora Borealis last night. It's so amazing. Do you know what that is? That's the sun's solar radiation trying to fry us alive.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
The only thing stopping it is the electromagnetic field around the Earth. And yes, it looks amazingly beautiful and green. And you're like, lose that, it's done. Like, you are like, the fact that the sun can still roast us in an instant is insane.
Yep, and people lie in it to get a tan.
No, I don't lay in it to get into it. I usually end up playing golf and get one, but
Oh no, we get like the farmer's tan.
yeah. What, like Kingston? Hey, that kid, like, he looks like he's wearing a shirt all the time. He's so dark because he's been outside.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, kid, but don't get me wrong, they go out and check out the Aurora Borealis. But remember, without the Earth's magnetic field, you would turn to dust. You would literally radiate.
We would just live underground and become mole men.
Or you could Highlander to it if you ever watched that movie where they built their own electromagnetic field and never saw the sun. I'm a Highlander fan. That movie was terrible. I tried watching it the other day to see if it because some movies after a while just seem to get better. That one didn't.
What was that movie that you wanted to watch again? That new one? Princess?
The princess.
Should be interesting.
Does it not look? It first of all, when I mentioned what it was, you're like, "What movie are you watching?" And then I showed you the trailer, you're like, "Oh," and now your wife wants to watch it.
Well, I mean, right from the start, I was like, oh, finally, they're gonna make it so that the princess isn't a helpless person at the top of a tower.
Right. That's one of the things that I find really great about the other Amazon series that I really like, The Wheel of Time. They don't make the women the helpless. Oh, I'm so helpless. You have to save me all the time. No, they're actually the most powerful. Men can wield the power, but it drives them insane.
I mean,
which is technically true. I think the more power people get, it does drive them a little bit of crazy.
Yeah.
Because you get so locked into that power. Right?
Well, yeah. Once people have power, it's hard to take it away. And I mean, it can be even.
It's not even take it away. It's just they won't give it up.
Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to that kind of stuff, though, I mean, when I was a kid, I remember girls that I dated. I never wanted to date one of those. A girl that couldn't look after themselves.
Yeah.
And so, like, I remember watching like Disney movies, and it would be like,
that's why you married one who can watch over you.
Well, it'd be like you're watching The Little Mermaid, and I remember people would make jokes, be like, "Oh, it's the perfect girl. She doesn't talk." And I was like, "That's like my favorite thing. Like, I love when my wife sings. I like having conversation, and growing up, when I became like an adult and was thinking about getting married, the biggest thing was I did not want to have to be the bread maker. Like, it didn't matter who was.
Right.
And I didn't want to have to look after someone, because guess what? If something happened to me, she wouldn't be able to look after me anymore.
Yeah.
So I like it when, and I like that, you're getting movies where they're showing it a little bit more. Like, you had Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a big one I remember growing up, where you're like, oh man, girls can kick butt.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this kind of stuff happens more, because I don't know, I'm sick of the damsel in distress. I actually prefer the
rescue me.
Yeah.
Honey, hear me through
Yeah, please help me.
I'm sick.
Okay, we can go talk about that. How we know that men, when we get sick, it hits harder.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, because so like there was 100 male scientists that all agreed that the man cold is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not touching that one. So check it out.
Wow.
There's a new island in the Thames River in London. It's changing the course of the river. You know what it's made of?
Garbage.
Wet wipes.
Oh,
People,
look at this now.
A huge mass of wet wipes has formed in the Thames in London, changing the course of the river. The wet wipe island is the size of 2 tennis courts. Ministers are urging the public to not flush your wet wipes and are considering a ban on those that contain plastic. First of all, people, there are 2 types of wet wipes. There are the ones that you can put in your toilet, and the ones you cannot. And even the ones you can put in your toilet, you have to make sure that your septic system is up to date so you can do this. Some older homes, regardless if it says flushable or not, still cannot handle these things. Don't put them down your toilet unless you're absolutely sure.
How gross it looks.
Yeah. Yeah, and
that's just on the banks. That's not even the island.
Right. Yeah, it's just people putting stuff down the toilet is just gross.
Ugh.
You know. Don't get me wrong. You use the sanitary wipes if your system will allow it, and you want to use them. Absolutely, go for it. But yeah, because they can't go through the water treatment plant, so they just bypass it and go right into the river.
I just, I hate the people that, and I do. I'm going to use hate. I hate the people that don't think that the things that we do now are going to affect things later.
Oh, everything that we do now affects things,
right?
Later.
And I mean, just like looking at this is disgusting. And all it would take is people not using wet wipes,
right? And how long have wet wipes honestly been around?
Not that long.
And there's already a 2 tennis court sized island in this river.
And it's because people, get a bidet.
I don't know if I like that much though.
Apparently, they are fantastic. I don't have one. I've been debating because.
Have you ever gone to the bathroom and had it splash back up and get you?
I've never used one,
That's a poor man's bidet.
but I went to a friend's house that had one, and I pushed the button.
You just watch
Because I
it,
thought it was the flush, so I was standing up,
and you see the little word.
Yeah, I was like, "What just happened? Where's the flush hole?"
And
Like,
you can buy now the attachment to your own toilet to where you have one. No matter, you don't need the actual bidet part.
Yeah.
It just plumbs right into your existing plumbing. I'm not a big fan of it. I guess it would wake. Can you imagine that at like in the morning when you're still not quite awake yet and you hit that button? It's time to wake up. So
well, apparently the H in Thames is silent.
Thames, I'm sorry, Sammy. You can do the show.
My mom did have a question though.
Oh, what's the question?
How
For me?
did we, for us.
Oh,
How did we go from damsels in distress to wet wipes?
transition is everything.
Yes, it is. We don't even know.
We don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know.
We need someone to figure out this problem.
Well, I mean, we just need to realize that.
There's a floating mass of garbage out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You can see it from space.
Yeah. Well, the bonus weird thing though is they were thinking about getting rid of it,
And they can't now.
They can't now because it's turned into a little
Ecosystem. And new species have literally adapted and evolved to live on it.
Yeah. But
Hoy.
I mean, I am not green all the time. But I try to do little things as much as I can. Like I won't throw litter out my window unless it's like an apple,
Yeah, because someone's going to eat that.
right? I will use the garbage. I mean, we don't have a huge recycling program here in town, but I will recycle cardboard and.
When my wife lived in Iowa, you had to recycle. It was city ordinance and law.
And
You had a garbage pail for your glass. You had a garbage pail for your plastics and your regular garbage. And it wasn't as strict as some places where you got glass, paper, metal, blah blah blah. blah. At least I don't think so. I wasn't there for very long, but I'm pretty sure we had to sort it.
Yeah.
And you only got so much garbage a day. Like you couldn't, and if you had more, you got charged.
Well, so I grew up in Ontario, and the town that I lived in was smaller than Havre.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to have garbage tags.
That's what they had
Right?
too.
So it cost you, I think it was $1 a tag, and that meant one regular sized garbage bag for it to get put in the garbage was $1.
I got some neighbors. Like our dumpster gets maybe 3/4 full. I can make it 2 weeks. My dumpster's really full if I forget to put it on the curb. Every week there are like 3 of them sticking out the top.
Yeah,
Stuff falling over. I'm like, what are you throwing? What?
With so when we lived where we used to, our across the street neighbors, I always was like, what? How do you have that much? They usually had garbage in it, and it was full, and then on the side. And
are you spring cleaning every weekend?
Yeah,
I'm like,
jeez. I couldn't figure it out. But then the thing that would always tick me off really like during Christmas is you'd look out, and I'd be like, look at all the cardboard that people just want to get thrown into the dump when they could just literally take it to the recycling plant right in town on their way to get McDonald's.
Right. And probably pay. I don't think I pay for your McDonald's. Well,
they don't pay for that, but there's the metal one that you get paid for. But I mean, recycling's not that hard. The people that are not wanting to do it and against it, they're just lazy. Like once you get used to it, it's not that big of a deal.
No. So check it out. I mentioned a story about rainforest chimpanzees earlier. There's a.
Do they have umbrellas?
No. They found that apes in the. Oh man, we're talking Africa here, so I gotta bear with me. This is almost as bad as the Chinese.
This is my favorite part of the show. When we start using vocabulary that we have no idea what it says.
I can speak English, and that's amazing.
Well, speak African English.
It's East African, I think. Waibira community of East African chimpanzees in Uganda have started to dig small wells to access or filter drinking water, a rare behavior in the animal kingdom. The interesting thing about this story is like, well, how are you sure that they're filtering the water or that they're doing it? They're just not doing it to find water. For one, they live in a rainforest. Not hard to find water.
Yeah.
And 2, they're digging the wells next to existing things with water, which means when they dig and most people don't realize this, if you go out next to a river, a really sandy river, you go up to where the bank where it's really dry, and you dig down, the water will seep up, right?
Yep.
That water is technically not 100%, but it's purer than the water that's in the river right now because it's got to go through it. So you're losing. It looks dirty because it's coming up out of the dirt.
Yeah.
But if you let all that settle, the water will actually be cleaner than what's coming out of the river because it's filtering itself. They found out that this band of chimpanzees started doing it. It all started with a single female named, oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go. I was like, that's not the name, is it?
No. Anifoy? I don't know. Who arrived in 2015. She is believed to have grown up in a well-digging community and demonstrated the skills to which the other chimpanzees started to do as well.
Well, they do learn, like a lot of them.
Animals aren't stupid.
Well, we were watching some pet show.
Right.
Not that long ago. And it was talking about how, how mates are usually chosen, and it's usually the strongest, the fittest, and that's what it is.
Except for humans.
Well, humans, we just try to look at, it's kind of like a full package almost. So, but it's always personal to what you're looking for. But they found a species of bird is actually starting to find intelligence more. So what they did was they trained one bird, and it was just a parakeet. It was a parakeet. They trained one of the male parakeets to be able to open up this drawer that gets you seeds, and didn't train the other parakeet. And the female was with the other one. Then the one parakeet that wasn't with the female was starting to open this and get food, and then they'd close it up. And the female eventually left the other bigger parakeet to go with the smarter one.
Probably because he had more food.
But that's just it.
Right.
So even in the animal kingdom, they're starting to figure out that maybe it's not always the biggest and the strongest. Because what do we say? We say the survival of the fittest.
It is, but because usually the biggest and the strongest can fend for themselves a bit easier, especially in the mammalian, like the mammals of the world. I don't know about birds and stuff like that, but yeah, most definitely. Like if my birds, they seem to be better at getting food than this other one, and I'm hungry and I gotta wait for this doofus to find something, and this one's already got it. Well,
I just think it's interesting. Kind of makes it so like survival of the fittest. What does that even mean now?
But are you thinking of survival of the fittest in the sense that the fittest is physical or strength, or fittest in mind, right?
So
that bird technically did take the fitter of the two. It fit her better.
Yeah.
I like that. That? Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
But it is.
Don't ask me to do it again.
What do most people say when you say survival of the fittest? Well, the strong survive. Well, like, no. As humans, it's going to be the smart. If something like crazy happened, imagine a bunch of just big,
you can throw
guys.
that theory out because modern people were wandering around with the Neanderthals at the same time, and they found that the Neanderthals were much bigger and stronger than the humans.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is we kept using tools.
Yeah.
Now the Neanderthals did as well, and they're now finding evidence that the Neanderthals didn't disappear. They interbred, and we end up getting a hybrid of the two.
That's why we're 50% Viking.
Right. Yeah. But why are they only 5'8"?
You take on your mother's side sometimes.
That's a big misconception. Like Vikings were big, huge, and tall. Well, actually, if you go over there, most people aren't that tall. And
they might have been tall comparative to the people that we're talking.
The reason that they weren't that tall is because their nutrition that they were getting just wouldn't.
Maybe the stories came from those. What were those little tiny people in the mountain that we were talking about?
Right, and let's face it, you only get the side of the story from the side that won. So, you don't get this version of the story from the people who lost.
So if you ever were to attack me and I had to tell the stories to my grandchildren years ago,
after you beat me,
I would be like, well, he was a mountain of a man, but I took him down because then it makes me seem stronger.
Right?
Nobody wants to hear the story of there was this guy that he was one.
You only won one fight in your whole life. Yeah, it was against a girl, but she was huge.
Yeah. What's that from? It's from a movie.
It's from a movie. It's from Bruce Almighty.
Yes.
Yeah, but she was huge. And you were like 11, I think is what he was, or 9. Yeah, but she was huge.
And the sun was in her eyes.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. People change stories, and the winners are always gonna make it seem.
You only get the winner's side.
Yeah.
Because most cultures, when they take over another, they get rid of whatever they had. There are a few cultures that adopt. We won't get into that, but
yeah,
we don't have time for that one.
No.
Cultures who rob others to make their own.
There's not a lot of what.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Chocolate bunnies, colored eggs, man. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, top of the hour.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
That hour went, man.
Yeah. Well, it started off a little slow.
It's because you broke the internet.
Well, I fixed it.
Yeah.
I fixed it.
And there almost wasn't a show today.
Yeah, we didn't even tell them that the building's locks were changed. So we had.
They didn't tell Haver's #1 talk radio hosts that the doors were going to be locked.
But I mean, bonus was we used our intellect.
We were so dedicated, we got in.
So I mean, the lady's waiting for us.
We won't tell people how we got in, though.
Yeah, remember that geniuses figured out how to get into a secured building.
Keypads.
When the locks were changed. Yeah. We're not going to tell them how, though.
No, we'll let them think about it for a while.
Okay, we'll just say it was not violent.
Nope. Didn't break anything either.
Or illegal.
Yeah.
It was all legal.
Completely legally entered.
And it wasn't just finding an unlocked door.
No.
I don't want people to think that we were just like, oh, yay, lucky us.
The door was unlocked. No, it wasn't. It was totally
Now
locked.
people are like, we want to know. But you've been listening to Average Rants here at KNMC
90.1
FM. And we will leave you with that thought. Have a great weekend.
Happy weekend. Say 4th of July.
I don't say 4th of July.